Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Albert Einstein. What does it mean to be a sensitive person or even a highly sensitive person? And if we are more sensitive, what does that mean for our everyday life? How can we try and make sure to take good care of ourselves and keep feeling good even when the world overwhelms us? That's what today's video is going to be about. Research shows that around 15 to 20% of all people are highly sensitive. And if you are one of them, you may have heard the following phrases a bunch of times in your life. You're too sensitive, stop overreacting, you need to toughen up, this shouldn't be that hard for you. Maybe as kids, people thought you were too shy or too sensitive, and maybe you enjoyed being alone. As someone who is very sensitive, I have heard all of these things and more, and it really took me learning about this topic to finally start to understand why I am the way I am and what I need to do to feel good and healthy and happy on a daily basis. So today I am going to share my tips and advice for all the sensitive people out there, whether you are highly sensitive like me, an empath, an introvert, or you just want to learn how to take good care of yourself in today's world. So the first thing I want to talk about today is some advice for dealing with very strong emotions. Magdalena asked, I would love to hear about some emergency advices for the tough times when you're processing a difficult set of emotions. I mean it as some ideas from you, not like a therapy session. And I got similar questions from some other people as well. Well, first of all, I am glad that you asked for advice from me personally and not like a therapy session, because please keep in mind that this video is based on my personal experiences and I am not a professional of any kind. I want to make it clear that high sensitivity is not a disorder or a defect of any kind. It is basically just a biological trait that sensitive people are born with, and it means that our nervous system is more sensitive to basic stimuli. We have deeper depth of processing, so we take in a ton of information and we process that very deeply and for longer, which also means that sometimes we can become overstimulated, especially when we've been in highly stimulating environments that are very loud or bright or crowded. We also have deep emotional reactivity, which relates to your question, and this means that we feel our emotions and the emotions of those around us much more strongly and deeply. We also have a higher sensitivity to subtle stimuli, so this means that we take in information that other people tend to miss. And this can be wonderful, for example, when we take in all of the little details that make life so precious. At the same time, it can also be, again, tiring and overwhelming to take in all of that information all the time. So we might need some more time off as well, perhaps to be by ourselves somewhere where there's very little stimuli to kind of cool down and rest. Which brings me to coping skills when it comes to dealing with very strong emotions. For me, I think it is important to really listen and tune in. So basically allowing myself to feel my feelings by reminding myself that it is okay to be emotional, and basically that feeling my feelings is not going to kill me. I have completely accepted being a very emotional person and that is completely okay and normal, and just that little acceptance has made a big difference for me. So we don't need to shy away from our feelings, basically. I also try to analyze the feeling sometimes. Where is it coming from? Is this realistic? Because a common misconception about emotional people is that they are also illogical, and being emotional doesn't have anything to do with not being able to think logically. So I think about, is this emotion helpful, or if not, can I choose to let it go? Is this even my feeling, or is this something that I'm picking up from someone else? Journaling can also be really helpful to kind of get to know the feeling and the emotion from the perspective of an outsider. When I feel overwhelmed by it all, I just gently remind myself that this feeling will pass, just like all the other feelings have passed by now. If I just take some time to heal, things will settle down. I also got questions from some of you about being overstimulated in situations that other people seem to find very easy, and then how to explain our sensitivity to others. Like Sandra, who said, because I am a highly sensitive person, I am overwhelmed very often in situations that other people take easy. Then I feel not normal, and I don't know how to handle this feeling and explain it to others. Or Mary, who said, I came here just to say this. Some things like traveling completely overwhelm me. I am so bombarded by stimuli that I cannot enjoy myself. I totally get this. I so often feel like Gizmo in the Gremlins movie when someone opens up the curtains and I'm just like, light bright, light bright. And travel definitely also is extremely exhausting for me. First of all, you are so not normal. It is completely normal to have a more sensitive nervous system. As I said in the beginning of the video, around 15 to 20% of people are more sensitive. And I'm sure if you read the comment section below this video or any of my other sensitivity videos, you will find many people who can relate. While being sensitive comes with many advantages, being easily overstimulated in highly stimulating environments is one of the things that many people struggle with. And for me, it is again, knowing this and accepting it, that was the biggest change for me. So if I'm going to be somewhere where there's lots and lots of stimuli, I do two things. First is planning ahead and trying to make things easier for myself in advance. So I might ask if we can go when it's less crowded, or I might bring my sunglasses or a bottle of water, chapstick, something to eat if I get hungry, kind of like my own survival kit. I might mention that I need a little break and can we please just go inside this cafe and have a cup of tea for a minute so I can cool down, take a bathroom break. So I plan ahead and make things easier for myself. Same with travel, I make adjustments and plan ahead. So you will never see me do a trip where it's like super high paced and a new city every day and doing all of the things, because I would not be able to enjoy that in the slightest. So I make adjustments. I stay in one place for longer. I take some time to recover from the flight, and I do things at a slower pace. I go to bed earlier, things like that. And the second thing I do is making sure that I have some time to rest afterwards, because I know I'm gonna be tired. So I'll just have some time for myself to cool down afterwards. I believe that there is nothing we cannot do. I think we can totally be in highly stimulating environments. I love going to concerts myself. It's all fine as long as we make little adjustments and do things a bit differently and take some time to recover afterwards. When it comes to explaining your sensitive trait to others, you can basically do two things. If someone is very close to you, you can go in detail and talk about it, what it means, why your brain is different, why your nervous system is different, and how that affects you in your daily life. I think it is so important for people to know more about this trait and really understand it better. I think that can be life-changing. I do have a really old video where I explain exactly what it is, what it means, so I will leave that video down for you in the description box so you can use that. But if it's someone who's not very close to me, or if we are in a highly stimulating environment, I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to keep it simple and say, you know, I'm quite sensitive and this is all a lot for me. I'm having fun, but I need a break every now and then because otherwise I'm going to get very tired. So I just keep it light and easy and clearly communicate it when I need a break. And I've noticed if I don't make a big deal out of this and just tell people what I need when I need it, most people will understand and listen. I've also gotten some questions from you about how to set healthy boundaries, for example, with friends and family, like Bailey Ray asked. I would love to know how you explain healthy boundaries to others, friends and family. Mine have often taken offense or gotten really worried when I tell them I need time alone. I've even had someone tell me, you make time for people you care about. I do care about them, but comments like that just stress me out more and make that person an unsafe place for me. I'm sorry to hear that. I think boundaries are important for everyone, not just sensitive people, but I get that this can be very hard to deal with sometimes. I haven't really had people in my life who were this kind of like rude about it. Being sensitive is not something that we chose. It is not something that we can turn on and off based on our priorities. It is something that we were born with, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. If you can take some time to explain to these people what high sensitivity is, how it affects you, and what you need to feel happy and healthy, and the fact that this doesn't have anything to do with how you feel about them, they might understand better. And if not, then maybe it is time for you to get a little bit clearer about what you will and will not tolerate, or what you are and are not able to give in terms of your time and energy. If someone understands you a bit better and they care about you, they will want you to feel good. I've also dealt with, for example, family expectations where I had to explain why I didn't want to attend a certain thing or trip with family, and I explained why I wouldn't be able to enjoy it, and I gave some alternatives, things that would be doable for me. I think we all struggle with expectations sometimes, either from friends and family, or from work, or from society in general, or even unrealistic expectations that we might set for ourselves. I think it is important to know where your line in the sand is where you are and are not able or willing to do, and communicate that clearly. Some advice on choosing an environment that best suits a sensitive person. I wonder if one should choose a completely quiet and calm environment, or maybe it's unhealthy to completely separate yourself from everything. We are living in a noisy, information-filled world, and escaping it may not be the best strategy in the long term. Where to find balance? This is a very good question, and I think you kind of answered your own question here because you mentioned balance. I think it is tempting as a sensitive person to kind of shy away from all of the noise and the highly stimulating environments as much as possible. And what I want to emphasize is just because we are more sensitive, there isn't really anything that we are not able to do if that is something that we would want, or that we cannot function, or we cannot live the life that we secretly would want to live. I think we can do anything we want. It's more about making adjustments and taking enough time to rest in between. In her book, The Highly Sensitive Person, which I highly recommend, by the way, Dr. Elaine Aron says that we need to not shy away from all of the stimuli too much, because if we do that, we can become even more sensitive to these things in the long run. So she talks about finding a balance between not too much in and not too much out, meaning we do need to seek stimulation by living our life and going out, but also taking enough time in to rest, recover, regroup, recenter, breathe, etc. Sanja said, "Sometimes I think being sensitive is not so bad. It's good to know how to deal when things get overwhelming, but I even wish for more people to be at least a little sensitive. Maybe we will treat each other more carefully. We'll be more considering towards the animals and the planet." I'm really glad that you mentioned being sensitive isn't all too bad. I agree. I mean, it does come with its own challenges, definitely. But it also comes with many advantages, and the experts all agree on this as well. There is even an important part in society for sensitive people to play, so it is a good thing that we're here. I can also relate to sometimes wishing more people were treating each other more carefully, or thinking more about the planet and the animals. And I just like to remind myself during those times that, you know, doing what we can, setting a good example, these things are what we can do. We can try to just make the world a brighter place by just influencing our little circle of it. And of course, this goes for everyone. I'm not saying that people who are not highly sensitive are not considerate. That is not true at all. I have some friends who really are the nicest people in the world, and they're not necessarily that sensitive. So we all have our role to play. We can all try to give good examples and do good and spread some kindness in our little tiny circle of the universe. I think that as a highly sensitive person, I would like to know how to manage my emotions when I see someone I love in trouble. If you find out, let me know. First of all, that emotional responsiveness and that empathy that many highly sensitive people have can be a huge asset and strength. It helps us out in so many ways. It helps us to work with people, connect with people, make people feel more comfortable. It helps with creativity even, so it is definitely not all bad. In a 2014 study, they found that highly sensitive people who looked at photos of both strangers and people they love expressing emotions, sensitive people process these emotions more strongly in their brain, and they also had more activation in their mirror neuron system, especially when looking at pictures of people they knew. This is basically why we have such strong empathy and feel what others feel. So what happens to others affect us more strongly. The study also showed that when seeing photos of their loved ones being unhappy, their brain showed more activation in areas suggesting wanting to do something about it, to act and make it better. So in situations where, for example, a loved one is sick and we cannot do anything, this can be highly frustrating for anyone, of course, not just highly sensitive people. As hard as it is, try to accept things that you cannot change or control. Instead of ruminating on them endlessly, just choose to let them go. Picture your happy place, maybe go for a walk or do some yoga or some meditation. It is not up to you to fix the entire world as much as you would want to, so try not to put any burdens on yourself that have nothing to do with you. Next up, I got some questions about everyday life as a sensitive person. For example, Pernille asked, I need tips on how to deal with high sensitivity in day-to-day life, how to structure my day, what to do, what not to do, etc. I think this depends because we are all different. Highly sensitive people, we have that really sensitive nervous system in common, but aside from that, We are all unique. We come in all different shapes and sizes and preferences and personalities. I do have a video specifically about healthy habits for highly sensitive people, so I will leave that in the description box as well. But I think, again, the most important thing is listening and responding. So noticing the activities that you do that make you feel good. Noticing the activities that are valuable to you and that you want to do, but are taxing, and how can you make changes so that you can keep doing these things without depleting your energy. Overall, I try to have a little rule that I won't do activities that will take me longer than 1 day to recover from, with the occasional exception here or there. But yeah, that little guideline is helpful for me. Ali asked, what exercises do you recommend? I find walking great. This also kind of depends. There are sensitive people who are extroverts and love jumping from airplanes or going to the gym and going all out. And then there are sensitive people like me who don't really like that stuff. I prefer gentle exercise as well. If I do something that's really intense, I'm going to be very exhausted for the next like 3 to 4 days. So that is not worth it for me. I like doing yoga. I like walking like you. I like playing a friendly match of tennis with a friend. I like doing a little dance workout or a Pilates workout. Mostly I enjoy exercising at home versus the gym because I find that takes way less energy for me. And here again, I like that rule of not doing anything that's going to take me longer than 1 day to recover from. I also got some questions about being with a non-highly sensitive partner or how to find a sensitive partner in general. In my opinion, it's not necessarily about both being sensitive. It's more about being compatible, because I think if you are both highly sensitive, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be compatible. And if one is sensitive and the other is not, that doesn't mean that you won't be compatible. There are many examples of people who are very happy together, but they are complete opposites in many ways. And that is because their personalities just complement each other well, and they are very compatible. So that's what I would choose to focus on more, instead of finding a partner who is also highly sensitive. Of course, it is easy if you're both sensitive. For example, I never have to explain to my boyfriend why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, because he understands and he's probably feeling the same way as well. But it's more about listening and trying to understand each other and learning to make compromises, make things easier for each other, and bringing out the best in one another. Matthew asked, is it wrong to be male who enjoys being sensitive, crying, feeling my emotions? I feel it makes me a hugely better man, works well in life, until everyone says to man up. I think being the way I am makes me an amazing man, wondering if I'm right. I appreciate this question because there is still, I think, quite a big stigma in society on men who are sensitive, and research shows that within the highly sensitive people, it is 50-50. 50% is male, 50% is female. And by the way, also 70% of HSPs are introverts, but 30% are extroverts. So we really do come in all varieties. Because boys are raised to embody, typically masculine traits, they can often hear things like needing to man up, and that is just all kinds of wrong. And hopefully society will start to see that more and more. Of course, there is nothing wrong with being sensitive as a man. I completely agree that it is okay to embrace that fully, and I'm sure that there are many people out there who would love to find someone who is more sensitive. So feel free to ignore anyone who says differently. I would like to know your thoughts on how being a highly sensitive person is a superpower. How has it enhanced your life, as well as the people in relationship with you? Yes, I think being highly sensitive can have amazing benefits, and I want to be completely honest here and say that it is still sometimes hard for me to truly embrace my sensitive nature, because there are days when it's hard for me to accept my limits. So I want to be honest, because I think that many people here can probably relate to that. However, most days I really do feel like it can be a superpower. I love being so deeply moved by the beauty in the world. I feel so touched by music and art and nature. I love listening to people's stories and hearing what they experienced in life. I love being able to taste subtle tastes and, for example, really appreciate a good cup of green tea as if it is the most amazing thing that I've ever tasted. I love how moved I can get when I watch the birds at dusk. There are just countless examples I could give. I've shown this picture before, but this is me as a little kid being completely mesmerized by a simple shrub in my parents' backyard. And I still get like that often, and I love that. Being sensitive really influences how I do most things in life. It influences my work, it influences this channel and how deeply connected I feel to my viewers. It influences my relationships. So while I do need to make adjustments for the things that I like to do and take enough time to rest in between, I don't feel that there's anything keeping me from living the life I want to live or doing the things I want to do because of my sensitivity. So short answer, yes, I do feel that it has enhanced my life in many ways. Last question was from Bethany, who said, I struggle with feeling less than others, or that I'm wasting my life by not living a loud, adventurous lifestyle. I would love some reassurances that the HSP way of life is just as valuable and full. First of all, I'm so sorry that you're feeling like that, like you're maybe wasting your life or you're less than others. We are who we are and we want the life that we want. As someone also mentioned in the comments, I think it is a good question to ask yourself if you even want that loud, adventurous lifestyle. If you want more adventure or more stimulation, you totally can, even as a sensitive person. It just means scheduling some more time to rest in between, doing things maybe a little bit differently, but it doesn't mean that you cannot do these things if that would be something that you would want. And the question is also why you think that this difference makes you less than others or like you're wasting your life, because everyone lives life differently. And if you can maybe identify your values or what you find important in your life and try to make changes so that you live according to what you find the most important, then your life could never be uninteresting, even if it is a lot slower. I love my simple, quiet, slow, lovely little life, and of course sometimes I will do things that are completely out of my comfort zone and I will take a few days to recover after that. But mostly I like my quiet days, and I never feel like I'm missing out on anything because I've identified what's important to me and I have aligned my life according to those values. So I hope you can find something like that as well. If you haven't read it, I recommend checking out the book The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron. This book completely changed my life around. It was so interesting, but also just so comforting to read. The way that she writes things made me feel so heard and seen. Let me know your thoughts and questions in the comments section. I would love it if we could all connect down there, spread some positive sensitivity vibes to one another and let each other know that we are not alone, because we're not. We're not. Everything I recommend watching, reading is in the description box. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day and I will see you again next week. Bye bye.